In my opinion, there are no doubts about it. One of the most interesting prime lenses to have in our kit is a fast 85mm lens. This is a lens that I call the moneymaker, both for photography and filmmaking, and the combination of the compression of a short telephoto lens with a fast aperture can really create astonishing images. You can simply try it yourself, just snap some pictures of a model with a fast 85mm lens and they will always tell you that they are loving the results they are seeing. Most of the people out there somehow perceive the images captured with this lens on a professional level. Don't ask me why, but it is something that will always happen. And you're just going to play an easy photography gig with your camera when you use it with the 85mm prime lens. Many professional photographers are loving the combination of the 85 and 35mm lenses because they are slightly off from the natural field of view of the 50mm focal length. In my case, I always loved the 50mm focal length as a standalone prime lens because it is extremely versatile. But when I can bring more lenses with me, I really like to bring the 35 and 85mm combo. In the past, I've already talked about the Zeiss Distagon 35mm f2 and the Planar 50mm f1.4, two lenses that I absolutely love to use with my mirrorless cameras. But I think that today it's finally time to talk about the Zeiss Planar 85mm f1.4, a difficult lens to use and master, but that can give you incredible results when used properly. The build quality of this lens is the best you can find in the market. It's made out of metal and it feels super solid and durable. It weighs around 600 grams like many other Zeiss ZF classic lenses, so it will work very well for gimbal work because you can easily swap them without the need of rebalancing the gimbal. And the manual focus ring is extremely smooth and precise. But in my case, this lens is a little bit on the heavy side when I turn the focus ring, so I need to use stronger motors to let it run for video work. And the focus throw of this lens is around 270 degrees, so it is, no, actually, not sure if it's probably 210, not 270. It's not super long, so it is very precise and accurate when you have to do really critical focus pulls. This lens has an old optical design from the film photography era, so this lens suffers quite a lot from longitudinal chromatic aberrations at any f-stops, and it suffers from purple fringing if used wider than f2. But it is still quite sharp if used at f1.4. I would say that this lens is sharper than the 50mm Planar f1.4. In my opinion, the sweet spot of this lens is f2, to retain some of the character of the lens with good image quality. The 85mm lens is my most used lens when I need some magical images, without too much character, without crazy flares and without loss of contrast. The objects or the people captured inside the pictures, I have always a nice spatial placement in a way that you can almost touch them inside the picture, and that's something that everyone calls like a 3D pop, and it's going to be visible even if you stop down the lens to f8. The color saturation and contrast are very good in this lens, and the distortion is also well controlled. Considering the problem of the Loca, this lens is not really versatile. For example, this lens is not performing that good for product, landscape or astrophotography, but it is shining when you want to film or photograph people. The closest focus distance is at 1 meter, so you can't really get great close-ups unless you use it with a diopter. And the rendering of the images is a bit weak if you use the lens at f1.4 or f2 if you place your subject under 2.5 meters. Is this lens a must-buy? If you already own some other short telephoto lenses that are perfectly sharp and without optical aberrations, maybe you should consider adding this lens in your kit to have different results that may look more interesting. But if this is going to be your first short telephoto lens, be aware that this lens is difficult to use and it can't really be used for everything. But if you want to use this lens just to photograph or film people, you will be well rewarded. I think it's also nice to talk about the finish of the lens, because it looks just gorgeous. I absolutely love this silver finishing in the filter thread, and it can cause some problems if you use bad filters, because this can reflect the light inside the lens if you also have a filter that is not really clean. And so that's why I don't really use diffusion filters with these lenses, but I really love the look of these lenses. By far the most beautiful lenses I've seen in the market. And I think it's also nice to show how this lens looks on a camera, because it's really sexy. And here you can see the aperture blades that are semi-curved. They are not really straight and not really curved, so the bokeh is always nice and pleasing, and this lens can also provide pretty nice sun stars. Let me show you how this lens looks on a camera. And in this case I'm gonna show you how it looks on the Lumix S1. That is a beefy, bulky lens, so you can have an idea how it can look on for example, Nikon D850 or other mirrorless cameras. So it is very well balanced on this camera. Maybe on the S5 is a little bit front heavy, but it still remains pretty compact. I mean, it looks pretty sexy. And it's not super light, so maybe for travel, when you bring two of these lenses, your bag is gonna weigh quite a lot. Ideally it would be nice to have Lumix S series primes, but because I invested in these lenses, I don't feel the need to buy anything modern anymore. Also because these lenses will last forever. They are just built like, I don't know, tanks, and they will last forever. So I think this is a safe investment if you're thinking to buy a set of primes, because these lenses will only get value, they will never lose value, so you can always resell it later in case you want, and you will not lose money. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and to make this type of videos takes me quite a lot of time and effort, so if you would like to say thank you for this video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe to support my work on YouTube. So this is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!